and welcome to an episode of Predictocast, the podcast where we predict the plot of a movie we know nothing about. I'm Josh, and with me as always is Skinner.
Hey, Josh. Hey, all you dragons out there.
Perfect. That is the exact way we greet our fans this week because we are talking about a Don the Dragon Wilson movie called Redemption. Not Retribution, not Retaliation, not any of the other myriad words that sound like redemption that I thought this movie was called, and it made it very difficult for me to find it when I was trying to watch it.
I looked at his filmography and just picked off ones with R to try to remember which one it was. And I have learned that the only true redemption in life, it isn't about being proven right. It isn't about, getting back at the people who've wronged you. It's about just getting your job back.
Yeah, your job as a cop. One good cop on the force, I guess.
Is that what this movie is really about?
Well, actually, he's kind of the bad cop. He's like not a good cop, sort of. I mean, or he's not like he's a bad cop in the traditional sense. He's just maybe not like, he doesn't think things through.
Here's what I
he
figured.
Gets people killed.
Yes, here's what I figured the central argument on his team, that is the early disagreement in this movie, the central plot of it is he thinks the other guy on his team is too reckless with innocent lives, and his teammate thinks he's too reckless with team member lives, and innocent lives aren't as important.
Yes, his teammate is fine. John Sasso is that character's name. His teammate is fine if innocent lives are lost in the pursuit of stopping crime, because that's just how it goes. But he thinks that you have to be very strict and careful with your fellow cops.
With your fellow cops on the hit squad, HITT. And I thought this movie would be
high intensity tactical training.
That's really great. I thought this movie would be about him fighting, like teaching them that he was right. His conflict with them. It's not. The movie isn't about anything for like 50 minutes.
Yeah, but the movie does let him prove to be right at the end to that one guy in particular.
Thanks to a bazooka shot.
This is a wild one. We said in the mini episode last week that we picked this movie because on IMDb, again, take that with a grain of salt, Don the Dragon Wilson said that this was one of his favorite movies of his own filmography. This, along with the other films we did of his, Blood Fist and then Lion Strike. And Ring of Fire 3, I think was what that one was called. And those were his favorites. So we're like, well, we have to do the third in the favorite Don Wilson trilogy. And it's a wild movie. Like, there's a lot of stuff that happens. There's some really cringy stuff that happens. There are two scenes in this movie that come one right after the other, and I was just cringing the entire time because one scene contains lots of racist slurs and the other scene contains lots of domestic abuse. So I was like, why?
And I get that they were supposed to be the bad guys, but also it is, well, one kind of is, but it is really just like, it is so uncomfortable, and both scenes go much longer than you think they're going to go.
Yeah, they go for too long, I would say, like way too long, and we would be better off with these things a little shorter. Get to the point, because we know what the ultimate outcome is going to be of both scenes. It just takes them a really long time to get there.
So my question is, as we start into this journey of redemption, was there any reason for every major woman character in this movie to be into Don the Dragon Wilson?
I mean, the fact that he's the lead.
it's just noticeable. Like, he's got something with Cynthia Rothrock, and then he has something with the young lady that he's trying to help out.
The sex worker with the heart of gold, Tara, kind of thing.
Yeah. What a performance. Well,
maybe not a heart of gold, I guess. I don't know. I will say, and again, just get this out of the way now. I don't want to come off sounding like a total creep pervert, but her breasts were distracting.
I think that's it's unstated that that's the reason he likes her.
I mean, she's very attractive, and there's no nudity in this movie, right? I don't think there is.
No,
there's no nudity. So it's like, I don't know if it's just, we can go right to the edge of it, because almost every scene she's in, her breasts look like they're about to pop out of her dress. And it was just very distracting. I was like,
let's read Carrie Stevens, the actress, her mini bio on IMDb.
Oh, good.
At least the first sentence or two. Busty, luscious, and shapely redhead stunner Carrie Stevens was born on May 1st, 1969. Nice. In Buffalo, New York.
There you go.
Carrie's research scientist father named her after the Carrie spectrometer. She was the Playmate of the Month in June 1997.
Okay. All right. Well, fine. Fair enough. I mean, they hired her for a very specific set of reasons.
She does a couple, they give her a couple chances to really act, and she really goes for it. It is uniformly awful, but it is also kind of at times the best thing in the movie.
Yeah.
She has the best line, I think.
Oh, what is it?
There's nothing in life is black and white.
Oh, yes.
Except for old movies. And what else, Josh?
Oh God, I wrote this down. It's been a while since I watched it. Where is it? I wrote it down.
It's only one of the two things that should come to your mind immediately.
Oh God. Shit. I had this line because I definitely wrote it down, and because it was an insane thing for her to say. Oh my God, where is it?
Think of what does C stand for in the old song sung by a certain monster on Sesame Street?
Oh shit, you're right. Yes, okay. Because I sent this line to you. The only thing in life that's black and white are old movies and cookies.
And for some reason, it takes about a 3-second gap, and I love myself these cookies, to go to Oreos. Because
I think she's talking about the black and white Seinfeld cookie.
I mean, when someone says cookie to you, regardless if it's your favorite cookie or not, is not the chocolate chip cookie the first thing that comes to your brain?
Yes, of course. When you say cookie, that seems like that's the base standard cookie. It's like if it's not a chocolate chip cookie, then it's like, what is this? Well, I brought cookies, and I think the natural assumption is chocolate chip.
Yes,
and if you go in and it's something different, it's like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Oh, it's an oatmeal raisin cookie. All right, cool. I'm down with that. Oh, it's a sugar cookie. All right, cool. Peanut butter cookie, whatever. That's fine. But when I hear cookie, I think chocolate chip, not Oreo.
I'm pretty sure the emoji
not
for cookie,
Seinfeld cookie.
Yes, is a chocolate chip. I love a macaron. A website I bought macarons on one time texts me all the time. I don't know how to make them stop. But that's not what I think of when someone says someone makes the generic word cookie in a point. Not what I'm thinking about. Chocolate chip cookie.
Definitely not. Well, I'm glad that I forgot that line so I could relearn it all over again. So let's go through this thing. We've got a lot to play with here. It's there's a lot going on in this movie. So we start with our opening credits, shots of LA, letting us know that we're in the big city of Los Angeles, crime and corruption everywhere. And then we cut to Erie, Indiana, like this backlot neighborhood.
I mean, we were always going to end up in Erie, Indiana again. I didn't expect this movie to.
It's very strange to cut to this like suburban, nice little place. Like I'm sure it's in LA somewhere, but it's just very funny to go from the big city to nice residential suburban neighborhood.
And Don the Dragon Wilson, at last, finally, in an ice cream truck.
Yeah, he's in a fake ice cream truck, which has the address of the ice cream place on it as Satakoy Street in Van Nuys, which is like a couple blocks over from where I work.
Oh, this could be you. You could run into Don the Dragon Wilson giving out some ice cream.
That would be exciting. They are on a sting operation. There is a drug deal going on, and they are there to try to catch the bad guys. And they all have earpieces in, and they have various members of their team out in disguises. So Cynthia Rothrock is dressed like a mail carrier. So
she's dressed like Rashida Jones in a TV commercial as a mail carrier. Her clothes are comically large.
Yes. And then there's another cop who is just trimming hedges.
Very inconspicuous.
And then we've got Don Wilson inside. This is John Collins. That's our hero's name. And he's inside the truck along with Richard Norton, who's playing Tom Snake Sasso. And Tom is kind of frustrated because they have a rookie cop who's inside undercover with a wire on, and they're worried, and he's worried about him, and he doesn't he wants to go in fast, but Johnny is holding him back because he doesn't want to go in and spook the buyers, and then they don't get to make the bust.
Our guy with the wire on is one of the funniest scenes in movie history.
Oh man, you mean the most inexperienced cop imaginable, who is constantly sweating and darting his eyes around?
He's sweating so comically, and he's looking around so crazily, and it so obviously has a wire on that the fact that it takes as long as it does for anyone to realize that he is wearing a wire is so fucking funny. They decided that subtlety was for cowards, and they were going to make sure you knew exactly what was going on in the scene.
Yeah. Do you know what this guy's name is? This character's name?
What's his name?
Jello. He's listed on IMDb as Jello, in parentheses, wired snitch. So Jello is there. He's sweating up a storm. His eyes are darting around constantly. We have our bad guy, our Asian drug dealer guys who've shown up in this nice neighborhood to make a drug deal. And I don't know the names of our main bad guy. I don't think I ever hear what his name is.
I think he might. No, I don't know which one he is. He is a bad criminal. He does not do anything right in this entire movie.
I think he might be Lee Kwang. I think that's the main bad guy, but I don't know that for sure because they never really say his name.
No, I mean it's just never. He just comes in, he does all these fancy speeches, puts his arms out wide, has beautiful hair, and he threatens people and tells everybody how smart and how dangerous he is, and then he fucks up.
Yeah.
His plan of doing things in broad daylight where tons of people are over and over again is consistently bad.
Yeah, it's not a very well thought out plan. He does a lot of things that don't make a lot of sense. But so does our hero Johnny, so I mean it kind of works.
It's a well-written script.
So the guy with the wire on, who is very sweaty and who keeps trying to leave the table, and they're like, no, stay here. He stands up to leave for a second time, and the wire makes a noise, like it catches some interference and goes off. So they realize that he has a wire on, and immediately Sasso wants to go in and rescue that guy and make the bust, but Johnny won't let him. He says, no, we gotta wait. And they only decide to go in once they hear their cop guy Jello get stabbed in the stomach.
I'm not on the side of Johnny on this. It made no sense.
No,
I mean, they're lucky that I guess they assumed Jello had the rotavirus. That's the only thing I could think of why they didn't realize this earlier. I was trying to figure out if the other guy was also in on it.
Yeah, I don't know who that guy is. He's never seen again, so doesn't matter.
It does not matter. They do. I did like when they were talking about their flow of cocaine coming into the country.
Yeah.
They say in a lot of really harsh words are used in the speech, but not as much as later. But he says it would be a white Christmas for everybody.
Yeah, they speak in a lot of the like old school drug metaphors, going skiing and that kind of thing. And so, of course, when this guy gets stabbed, they rush in and everybody's fighting everybody. They're shooting people and there's all kinds of gunfire happening. The gardener guy, he clotheslines someone who's running around outside. And, obviously the operation did not go down well. This guy, he got hurt. We do hear in voiceover that he's going to be fine. But it still is pretty bad for the rest of Johnny's team. They're kind of mad at him. And they're talking about it in the locker room the next day. They're kind of complaining about his leadership and how he, is gonna get the team he could get the team hurt basically.
But he's fine with this as long as it doesn't get innocent lives hurt.
Yeah. Tom is okay with innocent people dying.
What a weird central argument to pivot your movie about.
Yeah,
in a way. Honestly.
Yeah, it's a weird thing for them to be like butting heads over.
I would have more problem with like the fact that he's the leader of the team apparently, and also fucking a member of the team.
Well, okay, a good point to bring that up. I don't think that they have a relationship yet at this point, even though it seemed like they were very familiar with each other during the operation, because he comments on how she looks in her mail carrier uniform. So that just means he's a shitty boss in that way too, because he is essentially sexually harassing his employees.
Oh, then he takes her out to dinner, and then they have maybe the most awkward stare kiss that I've seen in a while that took for fucking ever. I was trying to figure out if he was trying to make a move on her and she wasn't into it, or they didn't know what to do with each other, or what was going on here for these painful seconds.
I will say, I mean, we'll get to it in just a second because I don't want to lose the scene with Johnny coming into the locker room and talking to Tom and saying like, "Oh, you have a problem," and then they start to kind of fight with each other, and the other team members go in to sort of break it up, but then one of them stops and says, "Let him dance," and then they start fighting in the locker room while a bunch of other shirtless men stand around and watch them. Felt very.
They punch the shit out of each other, and neither wins.
No, because Cynthia Rothrock, Aaron Murphy, comes in and breaks them up, and says that I'll kick both your asses if you don't stop. And Johnny pretty much blatantly lays out like it's my way or the highway, because I'm the boss and I have to operate my team as I see fit to protect all the kids.
It's important to him because he has a child.
Yeah, right. He doesn't give a shit about this boy.
And the snake doesn't care about Americans. He's Australian.
Yeah, he is Australian. So this is when Johnny takes Aaron to his apartment to see his fish, and then he grabs her a beer and talks about how he's going to buy a house so that he can take his son for the summer, since he and his wife are separated.
The plot that he has this wife who clearly still loves him way more than she loves Billy.
All women love him.
So pointless on top of the fact that there's two other women in this movie who also love him.
Yeah, exactly.
And Don Wilson doesn't need to be that lead actor. It doesn't fit him.
No. She wants to know, like, why his wife left him, and of course it was because of the job. And I wrote in my notes, I sure thought these people were already in a relationship. But she kind of lays out that he needs a woman who knows exactly what it's like to be a cop, and then turns the conversation in a different direction that I wasn't expecting, where she says that she would give up all of what she does now, if only to hear the pitter patter of little feet, because I guess she really wants to have a kid. So,
what an odd role to give to Cynthia Rothrock, who should be kicking somebody's ass.
I feel like she's very underserved in this movie. Like, I was a little disappointed with what they did with her, because I think you called it in the mini episode. I think you said something about her maybe dying, and you were right. She does die, and she does not get to kick very much ass in this movie. And I was pretty bummed about that, honestly.
I think we got to see more fighting from Chris Penn in that boxing scene than we got to see out of Cynthia Rothrock.
I think you're right. But yeah, it's a little bit of a bummer for someone as talented and as she is to not really get to kind of show off. She gets one little fight scene right before she dies, and she gets to do that like cool like bent over behind her back kick thing that she does, but that's really it, and it's kind of disappointing. They go to eat at a bar, and they see some of their other like coworkers there, but the other coworkers are still kind of pissed off at Johnny. And this is when they're kind of flirting a little bit more. They've got like a fun little vibe going on, and this is where they're in the stairwell and they're about to kiss each other, and they're interrupted by this woman with laundry coming through. And I thought, oh, they're going to stop it there, and they're going to be like, oh, haha, what are we doing? And then they wait for that lady to leave, and then they awkwardly kiss.
That's what just drove me crazy, is that it and this is a movie that loves to really stretch out some scenes when they still kissed. and then to introduce the character with the bosoms while she's still alive, and having him do Google eyes at that. I'm just confused by the whole thing.
Yeah, it's a little. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it, but so the next day at the station, they're listening to the tape that they got from the drug deal, and they have a bunch of photos up of all the guys, and there's a header across the board that says
yes,
Asian Gang Boys with a Z.
That's the name of the gang.
The Asian Gang Boys. All right, cool.
Hey, gang boys, get a room.
And then this is when John calls Tara, his sex worker friend, who might be able to give him some information. And she comes down to the diner to meet with Johnny and Aaron. And as we already mentioned, her breasts are very prominently featured. And she's a little forward with Johnny, which seems to make Aaron jealous. And it's a very like weird scene, because she talks about how she's been working out and wants Johnny to feel her muscle, and she's like, I've been working out, you can almost see my chest muscles. And then Aaron takes her jacket off to show off her cleavage.
Just fighting over the main character, who is an executive producer on this movie. It's like when she comes in, she's like, Johnny boy has been working out. Look at this beefcake. I'm like, oh boy, I wonder if she's in one scene in this movie. No, she's in a lot.
She is a major character.
She's a more major character than Aaron. So great.
Yeah, it's a bummer. And this is when we set up a subplot that was not needed. Like, this is a subplot that is not necessary at all in this movie. But Johnny notices a bruise on her shoulder, and then he asks if she got beaten by Monty again. And this is apparently her, for lack of a better word, pimp. And also, as we later find out, her drug dealer or supplier. And then, that's like, that is a subplot that kind of continues to flow in this movie until one of the last scenes in the movie, which I did not need Monty in his weird 90s vampire attire.
He looks like a 90s vampire. He's got long hair on one side of his head, it seems like.
Yeah.
But short hair on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, he's trying to look cool. He's walking around in his leather trench coat with no shirt on.
I did like Johnny coming into, like, they have this scene, and we kind of hard cut to, I thought they would go somewhere else. I thought they would do anything else, honestly. But then we hard cut to the club where Monty's at, and all you hear is off screen go, "Hey, Monty!" And then Don comes in and punches him in the face.
Yeah. Yeah, he is a cop still at this point.
Yeah, he can't do this. But yeah, like okay, if you were a guy who knows how the streets work and everything, I would assume if you went and you were trying to protect your friend who's a sex worker by going up and punching her pimp in the face publicly and saying never hurt her again, it would most likely lead to him hurting her again.
Yeah.
And yet he seems surprised whenever she's with him.
Yeah, it's a very confusing, kind of twisted relationship. And once again, I did not need this subplot in the movie, but hey, it's here, so we have to deal with it. This is when we introduce another big part of the film, which is Chris Pinn, who is playing Tony Leggio. And I literally thought, because his first two scenes are him sitting at the same tiny table in this club, that those were the only places he was going to be in the movie.
I'm going to sit here and I'm going to eat and you're going to pay me and I'm going to get second billing in this movie is what I thought.
Yeah, but no, he's up and about a couple different scenes, boxing and,
shirtless,
throwing slurs around later on. Yeah, real
Holy
cool.
Shit.
So this is our sort of main bad guy.
Yes. And his sidekick is Nikki, and I have a question for you, which is, did you understand one goddamn word out of Nikki's mouth the entire fucking movie?
Not really. I mean, I got the gist of what he was saying, but
I almost feel like anyone talking to Chris Penn in this movie, like any of his like people, the other quote unquote Italians he was talking to, were completely illegible. Like he has this speech here with he's telling somebody to get him his money, and all I hear back is, "Well, get me my money." No. Yeah, I don't care. Get me my money. No. And then he walks away. And then later, near the end of the movie, like when he's talking to Nikki, like he's yelling at Nikki, and Nikki's like, "I want the whole thing." What? I have full control of this. Oh, I want the whole thing. I'm like, why? Is there some rule that if you are not a main character and you're near Chris Penn, that he has like in his contract that no one else may talk at any volume?
So let's see. Oh, this is where Tara, who is also at this club, sees the leader of the Asian gang boys, and she calls Johnny, and she tells him, "Hey, I see this guy. He's here," and he has her. This is
funny.
This is ridiculous. So he says, "Take your cell phone and go plant it on him somewhere so that I can hear them." And it's like, so she's going to lose her cell phone potentially because she goes up and puts it in one of the guy's jacket pockets so that Johnny can overhear what they're talking about.
And we're not talking about a small little Razor flip phone. We're not talking about even a giant phablet from today. We're talking about a full-size fucking 2001 cell phone. She puts basically a brick in his pocket, and he's not supposed to notice.
Yeah, it's kind of wild that somehow this works. And the less said, the better about her commentary when she walks up to them. Basically, she tells this guy that she'll suck his egg roll for $1,000.
That's what this movie does.
Which is wild to me because we have Don the Dragon Wilson like in the lead role, and people are just throwing around lots of Asian slurs, and it's just
he knows what the American audience wants to hear. They want to hear the most awful things possible, and like even when like it's all Asian characters, like this next scene in the castle of paper ream boxes, like everyone from Hong Kong looks like they were from the 1700s.
Yeah, it's a little strange. So Johnny overhears all the details and everything, and he finds out where the drug deal is going down. So they send the hit squad out to set up for the bust. They take out all the guards. We get some couple cool moves from Cynthia Rothrock here, and the scene that you mentioned where they're our leader of the gang is arguing with the old guys bringing him the drugs. We do have Gerald Akamura here, one of this guy who's been in 1,000 martial arts movies. Like, he's been in everything. I know him best from Samurai Cop, but he's been in tons of stuff. I actually got to see him in person because I went to a Riff Tracks screening of Samurai Cop, and the lead from Samurai Cop was there along with a couple people from the movie, and Gerald was one of them. So I got to see him in person, like just standing in an AMC in Burbank.
I live in Burbank. I get to see stars all the time.
Yeah, so they're arguing inside, and he wants to do things in a new way. And
in broad daylight and be caught. Yeah, he's literally caught every single time he does anything.
Yeah. Only dealing in broad daylight and shooting at people randomly on the streets. And at this point, I think they're alerted to the fact that there are cops around, because they've set up some booby traps and bombs and things, because Murph runs up to a door to go inside, and Johnny tells her to get away, but she doesn't listen to him, and suddenly the door explodes and she's thrown backwards, and there's this huge gunfight that breaks out. And this is where I noticed it the most, but it happened, this is where I first noticed it rather, is that the action scenes, the gunfight scenes are kind of hard to watch because the camera is just moving around dramatically, and it was really hard to like focus on anything.
Yeah, I never for a movie that is one of his favorites and that he has control over, I can't think of a single fight in this movie that I thought, wow, that was cool.
Yeah, I don't understand how this is this can't be, that bit of trivia cannot be real on IMDb. I can't imagine why this is one of his favorites, because it doesn't really put him in a great light as a character.
Yeah, I don't it. Maybe what do you think from this movie he really took away that he thought that was great? Was it the literal worst slow dance music that's ever been in a movie? Did he love that? He loved all the stereotypes. He just likes dropping giant phones in people's coat pockets. What about it did he like? It has 15 side plots that don't go anywhere and aren't needed. From this, okay, he's going to be fired real soon here. Yeah. And then nothing happens until the end of the movie.
It's kind of like there's a bunch of montages. Like he moves his way up. Well, I mean, we'll get there, but I just found it very funny the way that he sort of moves his way up in this criminal organization through a series of montages. So like basically this big thing happens and Erin dies. She was injured in the explosion and she dies. And the rest of the team is kind of talking about this death, and they're very they're angry at Johnny for letting it happen, and they think that as opposed to him saying for her to get away from the door, they thought he was telling her to go in, or at least that's what they've convinced themselves of. And we see the team here kind of talking, and I noticed there's this one cop who I don't think we see him again until the end. He's like a real nerd with his football jersey tucked into his jeans.
Yeah, I want to know more about his life on the hit squad.
Yeah.
I bet you
he doesn't look like any of the other guys. The other guys are all kind of in shape and like sort of big, and you can tell they're like really muscular. And this guy just looks like a weekend warrior dad who like rides his motorcycle around the suburbs.
Yeah, like if he's on a hit squad, it'd be like fucking fantasy football team league name.
Yeah.
I don't know. I need more of him, but unfortunately, okay. To me, this scene and the next couple scenes, I thought the setting of the movie was the rest of the hit squad is actually pieces of shit, and they were out to get him. I mean, the guy's name is Snake, and they were in on something, and they were trying to force him out because he wasn't in on it, like they are in 1,000 movies. No, they're done after this until the end of the movie. The plot is not about them at all.
It's weird because I thought the whole thing with like, for some reason, I thought the whole thing with Snake was that like, oh, maybe he's got some sort of interest in the drug thing that's going on, and he's worried that like Johnny's going to get in his business and like mess up stuff, and it would make sense, somehow. But like, yeah, they just don't like him because he's going to get their fellow cops killed or hurt. And they're more like regular cops they're fine with the public getting killed, but don't come after the cops.
Which is a weird thing because, why can't there be someone who's on the side of no one dies? Because no one is.
Yeah, they don't care.
He seems more broken up in general that he lost his job than she died.
Yeah, well, because he was just starting a relationship with her, so.
Yeah, I mean, like he's always been a cop, because once you're a cop, you're always a cop. Because these movies have to say that you're genetically a cop, and that's why their lives matter, and that's all. That's what these guys are saying. Their lives matter, other lives don't matter as much.
Yeah. You're born a cop. Like you come out, you've got the mirrored shades on, you've got the mustache, you've got the star stuck to your chest. Like there's nothing else you can be at that point. I mean, they don't even, if your parents don't have a name for you, they just call you officer.
Yeah. Like they say, like here's my baby, the officer.
How old is Officer now? Oh, 6 months.
6 months to a year.
So basically they say that he needs to take a bullet, which is definitely implies that they're going to try to kill him, but they don't. They basically just go tell their chief that, hey, we all saw him tell her to go in and not clear everything properly, and he's the reason that she's dead. So, he basically is told by his captain, Captain Grill, who, as I think I joked about on the mini episode, he runs like a grill business. He basically tells him he has to resign. He's like, they don't have any trust in your leadership anymore. You're gonna be, it's gonna be bad for you if you stay. So you need to just resign. The chief tells him he can't punch and kick his way out of this one.
That was a great line. You know what? He does.
He does. It doesn't matter. But like up to this point, he hasn't done a ton of punching and kicking on the force. The only punching and kicking we've seen really is when he goes to the club and punches out Monty's guys.
I mean, when they went to when they did that first sting, which fell apart and they all had to fight, they all punched and kicked. Like none of them were doing general cop stuff. They were all like, all right, we got to go in with martial arts. And like,
yeah, I mean,
that'd be so bizarre if you were in LA and all of a sudden all the cops came at you with martial arts.
Yeah. And arguably the one like gardener cop who uses the clothesline thing is doing more like action packed stuff than anybody else. They're mostly just shooting guns. But yeah, he gives up his badge and gun, and the next morning, this is very funny because he's already just hit rock bottom because he is sleeping in his car outside his wife's house, and his kid just runs up from the front door and goes, "What are you doing out here, Dad?"
I was trying to figure out why we need a subplot where he had an ex who he's got to call every now and then. I thought it was because one of the bad guys was going to kidnap his ex-wife or son. No, I thought maybe
they're not involved.
He's got it, even like Billy, the new man in her life, asked him if he wants to go to the ball game.
The Dodgers pitcher.
He's the pitcher for the Dodgers.
What an awesome awesome thing. Like what a step up if you're, I mean, for anybody, not just Don the Dragon Wilson, who as of this movie is just a cop, like a good cop, but a cop. Like anybody though, if you break up with someone and then they start seeing someone new and then it's like, oh, they're a pitcher for a major baseball team.
Like oh, arguably the second biggest baseball team on the planet.
Yeah,
he's a pitcher for the Dodgers. Like,
yeah,
she like if this was like an equal thing, like in the UK, like, and he was like the starter for Man U, like fucking tabloids would follow her around.
Yeah, it's wild that like it's just very casually tossed off. Like, oh yeah, he's a pitcher for the Dodgers. You're like, wait, what?
I like when he says he can't go he won't go to the game with them, which, you know, Billy offers very friendly. Billy just gives a look of like, that piece of shit. And you know what? He's not really that wrong.
No.
I mean, he's going to go, he's like one step from going and get some fucking sloppy steaks.
And he tells Nancy, his wife, that he quit the force, and she seems very concerned. Not only because, of that, but because he's sleeping in his car outside her house and doesn't seem to know what day it is because he's there to pick up their son. But in fact, that's actually Saturday and today is Friday.
That comes up twice.
Yeah. So she's a little concerned, and rightly so. And so now we switch gears here, and he's like, well, this other woman that I was interested in is dead now. So I'm going to go to this woman that I have regularly just gotten information out of, and he goes and picks up Tara for dinner, because he said he owed her dinner, I guess, after some information that she gave him, or it was because she put her cell phone in that guy's pocket.
He owes her a cell phone.
Yeah, and he's kind of an asshole with her. Like a little bit. He says he needs to work. He needs to find a job because he needs $7,000 for a house. And I was confused by what that meant. Like, is that just? I mean, what is that? Like, how $7,000 for a house in 2002?
I think for a down payment isn't much at all. I'm trying to figure out if he owed on his current house. I know he slept in the car. Like, where does he live?
He lives in a shitty apartment.
So we're supposed to believe this guy. They have established more that he can't see his son unless he gets a house. It'd be one thing, but he's on he has a great relationship with his separated wife. They have a fantastic.
Seems like it.
Like,
yeah,
they touch hands lovingly. She wishes she could still be with him, but the job. And then he quit the force. He was fired. He tells her that he quit the force. He lied to her. He is a liar. Yeah. Just like Garfield, he is a liar. But like Jesus Christ. And then he goes this he has this thing constantly where he's clearly so horny for Tara, but he's got to make sure that she knows that he's above that.
Yeah, it's weird because like this whole scene is very like passive aggressive bullshit from him. Like he needs money, and she's like, "Well, I could probably get you involved with some of my friends who might be able to give you a job." And obviously that implies maybe something a little, a little underhanded, perhaps a little under the table. And he doesn't want to get involved with her friends on that kind of stuff. And then she calls him out because she's like, oh yeah, like cops are such upstanding citizens, which she's right. And this is when she throws out the great black and white line about the movie and cookies.
This entire speech is acted so crazily bad that it's fantastic. Like she's like just standing there and her hands are going everywhere. And she's just like, she's so stilted. She's so enunciating everything. I couldn't be more happy when she's talking.
Yeah, and then suddenly, because the script requires it, she apologizes to him and then starts trying to come on to him, but he won't let her. He won't let her kiss him.
Then they snuggle.
While he looks off, forlornly. And he kind of goes into a bit of a shame spiral here at this point. Like he gets denied his home loan. And it really bums him out because he just doesn't have the money. He goes and like kind of dances with Tara a little bit and finally decides like, hey, if you know of anything for employment, let me know because I need some money. We see Monty again kind of floating around the club like a vampire with no shirt on. And there's another woman here. I don't remember what this woman's name is.
Is this the one who got beat up?
Yeah.
Angie or something?
Maybe, or Mindy. Something like that.
It's E.
Yeah. So she is hanging out with them, and this is where she reveals that Monty is not just like a boyfriend or a pimp or whatever, but he's also her drug supplier. And we see Tara doing like coke at this random table, and Chris Pinn, makes her stop and then tells her that she shouldn't hang out with Monty, or Nick does it, because again, I still thought that Chris Pinn was only going to sit in that table in the corner and never move, but because he sends his other guy over, it's like he's probably not even there when they're filming that scene. But she asks Nick about work for Johnny. And so this is when we start building into the next part of the story where Johnny starts to be a bad guy.
Is this where is it Nick? Because I remember Nicky, I can barely hear what he says. Someone says to her, "Who is this guy? Does he shoot heroin from his dick?"
Oh yes, that is him. He's talking about Monty. No, he's talking about Johnny. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
And she kind of says, "Oh, he used to be an ex-cop or whatever." So they agree to meet him. They go to this restaurant where Tony and Nikki show up, and they talk to Johnny about a potential job. And they decide like they'll have him on that. It would be good to have a cop on their payroll, like an ex-cop, dirty cop.
Oh, I mean, yeah, every criminal needs at least 4 or 5.
Yeah, exactly. And then I got confused by exactly what was happening here.
Was this with the transport scene?
Yeah. What is he doing?
I don't know. It was like, from what I could tell, and I could be absolutely wrong because I kind of glazed out here. They ask him to do a delivery for them. He asks, "What is it?" Because he's a fucking moron. He's a cop. You should know you don't ask. They tell him you don't ask. He gets in the car, and then they chase and try to kill him.
Yeah, okay. So he goes and he grabs a car, and then is immediately chased by bad guys who crash into him, and then eventually they get out and he kicks their ass. And Tony is watching the whole thing from his car. So it was like a test.
He said that they set him up. I couldn't tell if they set him up like it was a test and they wanted to see what he would do. He beat the shit out of some of their guys. Or they knew they would immediately be attacked by a rival gang, and wanted to see how he would handle it. I really couldn't tell. It seemed like if it was a test, it would have been very difficult to set up at the kind of spur of the moment it happened.
Yeah, it's a little weird. And also, if he doesn't do well, you just got this guy killed, but I guess they don't care because they're bad guys. So who?
But are they? Because they hire him and all of a sudden everything goes great. This is where the movie, nothing happens. Like at this point, I'm trying to figure out, this movie's called Redemption. There's this whole plot with the Asian gang boys and the hit squad earlier. That hasn't happened for a while. He's now fired. He's not a cop. He's not even trying to get revenge for Cynthia Rothrock. He's just doing something else, and it's not building to anything. And
no, because it's like resolved before you get to the end of the movie.
It was literally 1 hour in the movie where I just went like, the fuck is this movie about? It isn't doing anything, which is amazing. Like it just, like he's just getting better at being a criminal. But it's not building to anything. He's just getting money for his house.
Yeah, it's very weird. So Tony, there's this great little bit at the beginning of this scene where Johnny comes in and like yells at them for setting him up, where Tony and Nick are arguing about paying for entertainment advertising. This happens a couple times with Tony scenes where he's like arguing with someone about paying money for something that he doesn't understand, which I thought was very funny. Because later on he's screaming at someone about paying $8 extra for something that he shouldn't have to pay. Like, I
just pictured him yelling, him being a guy in 2021. You know, rest in peace, Chris Penn did not make it anywhere close to there, but like, who during the pandemic would have, you know, ordered in everything and then like not tipped. And then yelled at every single delivery person.
I mean, the way he fucking talks in this movie right before he gets killed, I'm sure he would have had lots of things to say about the Wuhan flu.
Holy shit. If you watch this movie, I cannot stress enough, it is literally one of the worst speeches as far as racist shit you will ever hear in a movie.
Yeah, it was very uncomfortable, and it felt like some of those were ad libs. Like those were things that were in his heart that he just wanted to say.
Yeah, like he just we'll get there. Like he just says it, and then it seems to be over, and then he starts back up again.
Yeah,
and Chris Penn seems to be like he seems to be breaking character. Like his character should be scared or angry, but it looks like he's having the best time.
Yeah, I get to say all this with no consequences.
My character is saying this. Ooh, shit. Yeah.
So anyway, Johnny comes in and like, you know, says, "Hey, you set me up." They're like, "I was a test. We want to hire you. There's some shipments that have been jacked, and we think it's someone inside the organization." That is true, but it never really comes to anything. We find that out when the person themselves reveals that they're the rat. And they need him to figure out who's doing it, which is not a plot point in the movie at all. And so he starts working for him and starting to save money. We get a montage of them working together and him getting lots of money. It's a great, like, cheap movie thing where they just shot multiple scenes at the same location, the same setup, with him in the same costume of Tony putting money down on the desk and Johnny picking it up. Because you see a couple different shots of that, and it's always the same outfit that he's wearing. So they just shot a bunch of them. Yeah, exactly. He came back 4 or 5 times that day and got money. And he's, you know, kind of saving that up. I love that Johnny's hiding place for this money is a cigar box on his couch underneath the pillows.
He's an idiot, is the problem.
No one will ever look there.
We've already established he's not good at strategy.
Yeah, he definitely isn't. He calls, I think he talks to Nancy at some point here, and she says that Gregory, their son, is getting teased at school because his dad is a bad cop. Like, okay.
No one
Things
knows
are very different now.
Yeah, and also no one knows what individual cops are doing. They can it's not fucking news. They don't release like a list of fired cops in the paper.
He's not Batman. Like, it's not, you don't know who, he's not Commissioner Gordon. Like, you don't know who he is.
Like, literally at school, I didn't know the performance evaluations of any of my classmates' parents.
Yeah, exactly. And it turns out that Billy, the pitcher, has been traded to Florida. I wonder what team. Probably the I don't know, Florida baseball teams. The Gators, is that one?
No, that's not one.
Okay. let me try to come up with some other ones. The Florida Everglades.
That is a place.
That's not a team?
No.
Oh.
It's a piece of nature, less than a baseball team.
The Florida fan boats.
Those are fun.
Not a team.
Not a team.
Oh man.
You have at least two options.
Okay, the Gators is a football team, damn it.
That's a college.
It's still a team.
He wouldn't be traded to college.
He might be. Maybe he's an idiot. He got to go back.
He's gotta go. That'd be a great movie.
The Marlins. The Marlins is baseball.
Yes.
That's probably who it was.
What city
or
are
the
they
Blue
in?
Wahoos.
The Blue Wahoos. Now you're just being racist.
I'm just looking up Florida baseball teams on Google.
The Miami Marlins and the Tampa Bay Rays.
Oh, okay. Tampa Bay Rays not even on here. Not even on this,
this
list.
They were in the World Series last season against, guess who? The LA Dodgers.
The Gators.
The Los Angeles Dodgers.
It's an intrastate face-off. So I know nothing about baseball, but anyway, Billy has gotten traded to a team in Florida, probably the Tampa Bay Rays or the Marlins, more than likely. So Nancy is considering moving and potentially taking Gregory with her. She wants to know if, Johnny's going to be able to take Gregory over the summer. She still, I guess, does not know that he doesn't have the house yet.
People with apartments can't have children.
Yeah, it's not possible. Maybe he only has one bedroom. I guess, I get it, but
yeah, I mean, like, what's a kid supposed to do? You can't toss the baseball in the hallway.
No, but also he's saving up all this money. Like, are they holding the house for him? Because he didn't get it. So, does he have another one on deck? Like,
it was on layaway. You know what?
We'll hold it for you for 3 months.
Like, at this point, like, it was 2002. Like, just say, like, hey, tell my son I have a PlayStation 2. It's fine. I bought a PlayStation 2. I have all the Metal Gears he would want. It's fine. Like, he'll pass the summer even if he can't play in the back fucking yard. I fucking hate any movie or any person out there who are like, oh, can't have a kid until I have a house. Go fuck you. Most of the population doesn't have that. You are being an asshole.
Yeah. Well, I mean, nobody really has a house anymore. I mean, some people do, but it seems like fewer and fewer.
And the banks really own them.
Yeah. So Johnny goes by the precinct to see Captain Grill to get some tips for that, summertime grilling sessions, coal or propane. And the captain wants to know what he's doing with working with Tony Leggio. He's been following him. And, he's like,
he posts a picture of him and goes, that's a real piece of shit right there.
Yeah. And we get a scene here where Tony and Johnny are boxing. Well, it's like a weird, like, Johnny's kickboxing and Tony is boxing and they're in the ring together. It's very shadowy, so you can't see their faces, but yet they are having a full-on conversation.
Well, the conversation is ADR, clearly.
Yeah, the conversation's ADR, and it's also crucial to the final scene in the film.
Yeah, I mean, like, it sets up, like, when this happened, I'm like, oh, finally, there's a point to this. And yeah, like, it's bad enough that, like, the movie's turned into like this one guy isn't so bad. No, man, he's a piece of shit. But
yeah,
now the whole plot of the movie is it's less about redemption and it's more about real estate. Because the whole plot of the movie is he needs money for the house. And I'm like, what is this about? What is this about? And like he's going to sell his crime business and get out of the crime and give this guy who, considering no one's age, and doesn't seem that long, has been in his employ for, I don't know, a few weeks, a couple mil.
Yeah, I didn't understand any of this at all. Like it doesn't make any sense. But so Tara calls Johnny and says she needs to see him, that it's like an emergency, and he goes over and she's like, "Oh, I just missed you," and and she says that she's jealous of all the time that he's spending with Tony. And she tries to kind of like force herself on him a little bit, and he stops her because, of course, he's a good guy. And he's like, "I don't think either of us are ready for this." And then she kind of throws like this weird thing on him and is like, "You just don't want to sleep with a whore." And it's like very like kind of rough. And then as he leaves, she's like, "But I love you." It's like, this is a very like toxic relationship.
She has a lot of problems. She has a vampire for a pimp. She's addicted to hard drugs. She doesn't need him. She needs so much more to get her back on her feet and get her in control of her life.
Well, thank goodness we get there.
Well, fucking him won't help, but it will. It's fine. It just you can't help but love John. Even Chris Penn's character, in the end, just love John.
And this is when we get the worst two scenes in the movie.
In a lot of movies.
In a lot of movies. In all movies. These are two of the worst scenes probably ever in any film. But Tony is complaining about paying $9 extra for some bullshit, like I said earlier. And then Nikki comes in and he's like, "Oh, what are we going to do about the Asian gang boys?" And and Nick, this is when Nick mumbles that he wants all of the business, not just a part of it. And, Tony is saying, "Well, like, I'm in charge of this. This is my thing. You'll do what I say." And this is when the Asian gang boys come in, and Tony immediately starts in on some of the worst, vilest, racist shit you've ever heard. And it just, as we already mentioned, it feels very real and is very uncomfortable. And
it goes on, like, he starts on it, then he turns his back on them, then they turn him back around, he keeps at it. He criticizes how they're pointing the guns at him. He manages to fit in the N-word.
Oh yeah,
which was crazy. He says everything. He flips them off like 19 times. It is so vile, and I don't care if it's supposed to be in character. It is just vile, and it is so long, and it really feels like they all are having a great time doing it, which is really upsetting.
And then they finally tell Nick to shoot Tony, and he's hesitant at first. He's like, "Oh, that wasn't part of the plan." And they're like, "You got to do this." And finally, he does. He kills Tony, and then they kill him. So it's like, well, you're an idiot, Nick.
Didn't see that coming. There's not a single smart criminal or cop in this movie, which is probably pretty accurate.
Yeah. And then we get the second scene, which wasn't needed, is terrible. Monty and April, that's her name because I have it in the notes here. They show up at Tara's place and they sort of force her to do drugs. And then he like kind of is sort of pushing himself on her a little bit, and she tells him to stop or Johnny will kill him. And he starts getting very mad at this and then starts hitting her. And then April tries to get him to stop, but then he starts to hit her, and it just goes on and on and on. And it's like, oh my God, can we please stop this scene? Because it is really uncomfortable. And I guess, hey, that's probably the point of the scene. It's to make you uncomfortable, to make you feel bad for these women and make you hate this guy. But like, I already hated him. I didn't need any the moment you hear that he's beating up this woman in Tara's first scene, you're like, oh, that's a bad guy. I don't need to hate him further. I already know. And then finally Tara pulls a gun on him, and he kind of doesn't believe she's going to do anything, and she just shoots him right in the fucking head, and he is done.
Also, back-to-back scenes where you don't have the guts to pull the trigger scenes happen.
Yes, that was the weird thing. It's like it happens twice in a row, and both times the people who say that they don't have the guts get shot right in the head.
Now, with the trying to force her to do drugs, it just made me think, it's unrelated to this in the situation, but it made me think when they were teaching you anti-drug stuff in school when you were a kid, did you ever get the sense that the way they were pitching it was that drug dealers would sneak up on you and shove a needle in you, and then you were addicted to drugs?
Of course, it's the same thing that happens on when they're worried about kids going out for Halloween and getting drugs in their candy. It's like they're not going to just throw drugs away. They're not what would be the point of that? They want to do them or sell them and get money for them.
It's very expensive.
They're not going to just give them out.
Yeah, and the way it was pitched, I felt like as a kid, or at least how it came into my brain as when they were explaining it, was you would be at a bus stop and a shady character would come up with a needle and just kind of shove it into the back of your arm. And then you were addicted and you had to buy drugs from them from then on. It was like you were a zombie. That's how they're going to get you.
The only thing I could think would be reasonable, or not reasonable, I guess that's the wrong word, but could reasonably happen would be oh, hey, my friend here is thinking about getting into heroin. I'll give you the first one for free because of course you're going to want to come back if I give you some good shit, and then you're going to want to do more, and I'm going to get money from you. But just coming up randomly and jabbing you with a needle or something like that, or somehow slipping a mirror full of cocaine under your nose when you're not expecting it. I don't think that was the thing that was happening.
The idea that people would just give away that much drugs is just so fucking funny.
Yeah.
To get kids high and not see and laugh at them, right? You wouldn't even know if they ever ate them. It would be so easy to trace it back to you, right? It's the same as oh, I'll put razor blades in all these apples I give kids. No one kids get apples anymore. And yeah, you're gonna murder thousands of kids that night, and then what? Be what's your end game? Everyone would know where it came from.
Yeah, it's a thing that makes no sense. It's just there to fearmonger and scare people pointlessly.
I was I check candy to make sure the kids' candy isn't shitty, but I'm not I know no one put expensive drugs in them.
I mean, I'm more worried about them putting random rat poison or something in there than drugs. If I was truly concerned about someone potentially poisoning candy, it would not be with drugs. It would be with household chemicals.
All the kids would come back to the house later I need more of your Necco wafers. I can't stop thinking about them since you gave it to us.
Yeah, so it makes no sense, but whatever. So anyway, he's dead. She tells April to get out of there. She'll handle it.
And she does.
So Johnny shows up at the club. He sees that Tony's dead. His Captain Grill is there, sizzling, very hot, and wants to know everything about this situation.
You might say that he's grilling him about it.
That's right. He's putting him under the coals. And so he goes back to Tara's place. He finds the dead body there. What did they do with that body?
Who knows? Cops don't do with dead bodies. They sell them.
That is true. So he takes her
Much money
back to
for the
her
house.
Yeah, he takes her back to his place, and he's like, you need to go into rehab. You obviously have a substance abuse issue. Rehab would be good for you. And she's like, well, I can't afford it. And then, of course, he pulls out his money for the house, and he gives it to her, and he says, you take it because you need it more than I do. This means that you will get clean, and I will never see my son again.
Because, once again, the son cannot visit an apartment.
Yeah, that's right. And I wonder if I kind of feel like, again, Johnny not being a great dude, if this is sort of, he's playing a long game here. Like, hey, I'm going to pay for your rehab, and then you can come back to me, and you'll be all cleaned up, and we'll get you a real job, and then we can fuck.
You've taken some tests. We know you're clean everywhere. And then we can...
Yes.
I thought this was, I'll give you the money, but I know I'm about to get more money. But he only comes with that plan later. She has her reading of the line, John, you need this money for your house, is so fucking funny. And then they play it like 5 more times. Which
yes,
is
they do,
just
because we have
so great.
We have a montage of all of these previous scenes from the movie while he's doing some kickboxing. And it's just scenes played over explaining how good he is and what he's done and all this stuff. And it's very funny. Like reminding the audience of the movie we've just been watching.
And then he figures out that that the plan to sell the business for $10 million or whatever it was, is still probably going through, even though the gang's leaders are dead.
Well, okay. So he's selling, it's not a business, is it? He's selling information
list of
on
names?
Reporters.
Yes.
What is that?
I don't know.
I don't know what that is.
But it's
they do not explain it.
Apparently we're $10 million. And he thinks, well, I guess that deal is still going down somehow. I'm going to go steal it? Like, what's his plan here?
I don't know. Before he goes to the bank where this is going to be happening, goes by.
At least one character says, I can't believe it. Like, basically says, I can't believe you're doing this at a bank.
Hey, before he does that, though, he goes by his wife's place and sees his kid for a second. And then, he says that, he kind of talks to his wife a little bit, and there seems to be still a spark there because she touches his hand very romantically and is like, why don't you come in and have breakfast with me and your son? And he's like, maybe later.
Oh, why don't you come in and have breakfast with me? How about I be breakfast?
And
you want to taste my sugar snacks?
So,
gotta get them smacks.
Billy's going down south to Florida, but he doesn't go down south like you did, if you know what I mean.
And he's like, here's $7,000, go get clean.
So he goes to the bank, and he's there with sunglasses on for some reason, standing in the bank when the Asian gang boys come in. I don't know how they know about this either. I'm very confused by all of this, basically. I guess they know about it because Nikki told them, probably.
I think Nikki told them. They're like, yeah, he should have held on to that until he had some sort of payment.
Yeah, they're looking for a man with a silver briefcase. And they ask someone about it, and she says she doesn't know, and then they shoot another person. And then she points at an office, and they go in there, and they shoot someone in there, and they come out with the case covered in blood. So we don't know who that guy was.
They're so stupid. They're doing this in broad daylight at a bank with no masks on. Don the Dragon Wilson doesn't have to be there. All the cops show up anyways.
Yeah, it's weird because the guy, the lead guy, recognizes Johnny and is about to kill him, but then he gets distracted by the police sirens outside. So then that allows Johnny to get the drop on them, and he takes out some of the guys, and he's fighting. There's a lot of really good fake scream clips throughout, like just fake sound effects of screams dropped into the soundtrack. And of course the hit squad shows up outside. And, bad guys are running out of the bank one by one and are just shot as soon as they step onto the street. It's a very bad plan.
It's an incredibly bad plan. Like nothing. Like I know that he, in the end, he saves the lives of one of his teammates, his ex-teammates.
Yeah.
But the bad guys were never getting away. The second
No.
they walked into the bank and started shooting everybody without masks on, like 2002, the bank's full of cameras. They're all done. This plan is so stupid. It's pointless. I don't understand it.
Yeah, no, it's not. I don't understand what they were hoping to do. I guess they figured they would just run in, kill this guy with the briefcase, get the briefcase, and then hit the road and like not have any problems.
Not so much.
So finally, we're getting close to the end here. There's this massive shootout. And eventually the main bad guy is shot, but not before he shoots Johnny. And then he gets killed. He gets like completely lit up by all the cops, and they take him out, and he's a goner. And then one final guy comes out with a giant rocket launcher on his shoulder, and he's got it pointed at Tom Sasso. But Johnny is able to. Does he shoot him or kick him? I think he shoots him.
He shoots him in the throat.
Oh, that's it. Okay, and then that throws his aim off, and then the rocket blows up a car instead.
He was going to shoot he was going to shoot a bazooka at a single person.
Yes, he was fully on board with completely destroying this guy, turning him into Jello. And finally, all the threat is done for. We had a big massive shootout, which wasn't very visually interesting. Again, the camera is shaking around so much that I had to kind of look away because I was like, this is making me nauseous. And one of the hit squad guys vouches for Johnny's heroics. They're like, Johnny did real good. He was a hero. And then very similar to kind of how Fear City ends, the captain comes over and just smiles at Johnny and is like, good job. You better have your bullet wound looked at, buddy.
Yeah, he didn't do anything besides be a criminal for most of the movie. Like,
yeah, I don't know.
What's his redemption?
I don't know, but he's done it. He's redeemed. Maybe it's not for him. Maybe it's for other people. Maybe it's Tara's redemption.
Maybe the movie's actually about Tara.
I don't know. I mean, she did kill a man, and now she's going to rehab. So I guess maybe it's her.
Good for her. I'm glad someone had an arc in this movie. I mean, we could have had one scene with him like putting his keys into his new house.
Yeah. At the very end, Tom Sasso walks over and helps him walk off to the ambulance, and they kind of trudge off very slowly at the end here. It takes them quite a while to walk off screen, and then the movie is over. But yeah, I don't really know what his redemption is. I don't know what sort of is that redemption arc their friendship?
They were never friends. I don't know. Like the movie kind of just meanders for a while, and then it's like, I guess because he was at the right place at the right time, and he didn't actually stop anything. They were going there anyways, and they killed most of the guys. He saved one person by pure luck of being there. He's now a good cop again. Like he didn't prove anything. He didn't prove what he did wrong was right. Like there's no sense of like what he was fired for, and he's always a cop. That he was redeemed in any way or proven wrong or right or anything, because the other characters aren't in the movie to have this argument with him.
Yeah,
it's just weird. What I love about what we've done with our canon of movies we've covered in predictocast, because we covered a lot of these direct-to-video, lower budget action films now, is that you really get a sense that none of them know how to end the fucking movie.
No.
It's like fucking landing in Pilot Wing 64. It's just fucking nearly impossible. They just don't know what they're doing. Like they have all these ideas for like set pieces, and some of them are great. Some of them have great, crazy plots, and then and I'm not talking about the ending. In this one, the ending doesn't make any sense as far as narrative. That's fine. A lot of them don't. They don't know what to do with that final fucking 10 seconds. They don't know what to do with it. And so often someone just gets in the car and we watch them drive off or walk off literally. And it's just like, you couldn't have found, like, freeze frame it. Just, that's cliche, but it's a choice. Just something.
Yeah. Freeze frame it and then have the credits start on the freeze frame.
Yes. Or a guitar lick, just boing, and then it's like something. And then the main character winks. Anything. So many of them just like,
Yeah, it should have been, it should have ended with him like with some of that money from that briefcase.
Yes, or like have the sense of like, yeah, I helped everybody, and then like he see him tucking a big silver briefcase underneath his flannel shirt and winking at the audience.
Yeah, exactly. And then freeze frame by the J. Gals Band plays.
Yeah.
We've made that joke before.
Or the song "My House in the Middle of the Street" starts playing. Our house in the middle, because the real hero of the movie is the house that he doesn't own. You need that money for your house. Your money for your house.
Well, I think that's going to do it for Redemption. We have closed out the Don the Dragon Wilson favorite film trilogy.
No one else has.
No one else has done this, I bet, unless there's other action movie podcasts out there that cover a lot of Don the Dragon Wilson movies.
I checked the donthedragonwilson.com.
Oh, yes. Please, let's talk about this really quick before we wrap up this episode.
I was hoping for some information on him, or what would he say about himself? Because there's not a lot of personal information about Don the Dragon Wilson online. He's a great kickboxer. Apparently, he's the greatest kickboxer who ever lived, according to donthedragonwilson.com. But what has amazed me about this, I thought like, maybe like he'll have information about him being on podcasts or something like that, or just anything. And it's mostly just text. And halfway through the website, in the front page, it goes into this speech and says, "I hope you all enjoy this website. Treadmills and elliptical fitness are benefactors. Since the disappearance of the official site of Don the Dragon Wilson, we have worked on preserving the knowledge and information regarding one of the greatest kickboxing champions of all time. We could not have done this. This could not have been possible without the help and support of our benefactors, ellipticalwatch.com Soul Fitness." And I'm just like, the disappearance of the website? Like, was it stolen?
Yeah, they have the URL, donthedragonwilson.com, so that means that it expired at some point and you bought it instead of giving it back to Don the Dragon Wilson or his people, contacting him in some way. You're like, no, I'm just going to do an unofficial fan site.
And that you could not afford this URL without the benefactors of a treadmill and elliptical company. What? And like, it acts like Don Wilson isn't alive or something. That like we have to preserve the knowledge and information about Don Dragon Wilson, a guy you could just call. He's just a guy who is actively still in movies.
Yeah, I think that it would be
some people. It would be interesting to see what his reaction to his website is. I'm sure he's gone to it, but he hasn't helped them. But they will continue to add information about the dragon here. Some people have asked us about Dewey Cooper. Well, that's another kickboxing story altogether. Who the fuck is Dewey Cooper?
I did go to ellipticalwatch.com. The latest article was published on February 11th, 2021. So still kind of a going site here. Apparently been consumer testing and reviewing fitness equipment since 2001. So been in the game for quite some time. And this is a guy with 7 years of experience in CrossFit, 9 in the gym, and 12 as a personal trainer. So he's going to give you a review that you can trust.
Is that Tom Ferguson?
No, this is John
Jamie
Williams.
Miller or Steve Brown?
This is John Williams.
He's not even mentioned on this thing.
Yeah.
The John Williams, huh?
Yeah, apparently the John Williams. Not the John Williams that you're thinking of, but another one.
A John Williams.
John
Williams.
Williams.
If you are a big fan of Don the Dragon Wilson and want to support him, but not directly, but instead support someone who is trying to keep Don the Dragon Wilson's information from disappearing off the internet, you can go and volunteer or support the benefactors of DonTheDragonWilson.com. Treadmill and Elliptical Fitness, they're benefactors.
Yeah, I mean, I think just by me going to this site at all, I've helped them in some way.
I imagine you have.
But I think that's going to do it for this episode of predictocast. We are next week. Mini episode is moving us into the spooky season. So it's going to be very exciting to get into fall, and some of the creepy crawlies are going to be coming out. So I'm excited for that. We already recorded that mini episode, and it's much longer than most of our mini episodes. So prepare for that. It's going to be exciting, and it's also probably the biggest movie we've ever done on the show. So that's very, very big for us, and something for you to look forward to. But until then, I've been Josh.
I've been Skinner.
And we predict you'll join us.
Can't wait to put away all these gummy bears and start eating gummy worms.
If you like the show, subscribe, rate, and review us over at Apple Podcasts. We're on Twitter and Instagram at predictocast, and you can find our entire back catalog at predictocast.com. Our theme music is by Kyle Sledge. Find more of his work at soundcloud.com/geistmusic. As always, thanks for listening.